Hey everyone, and welcome to the HR Vision podcast. I'm your host, Ivo, and every week I'm going to have a conversation that matters about HR. This week I have Hans de Jong with me. Welcome, Hans. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you. Very good.
All right. Good to have you here. Hans is a senior consultant at FourVision and our Payroll Interface Product Specialist. He's one of the most experienced members of our team. He's been with FourVision for almost 11 years, and he has an extensive experience in HR technology. So this should be insightful, I think. Hans, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's get to it then. Let's start like we start every time. Tell us about you. Who are you? A bit of your experience in a nutshell. Of course, I know that the experience has been for some years in HR. So let us know.
Yeah. No, well, I have a background with Dynamics for about 20 years now. I came from a technical wholesale company where I implemented Axapta to FourVision, where I work for 11 years now. Mm-hmm. What I can say is I started with a background knowing the project in broad, and then at FourVision I started to learn more about HR. Mm-hmm. And over the years I have specialized in payroll, specialized in leave functionality, in time and attendance, in sickness, and in that I do a lot of things, implementations, customer support, product development.
Okay, all right. And did HR started, you have a background on your studies or around technology, around HR? How did that came about?
Not at all. I'm originally a political scientist.
All right.
I studied political science at the university in the Netherlands. Very long ago, I even did a traineeship at the United Nations headquarters in New York.
Okay.
So my politics is still my big hobby, along with refereeing volleyball games. So that's a little bit. Those are the two passions in my life: politics, following all the news on in various countries.
Yes.
And the volleyball is also a big hobby for the refereeing is going on for 32 years now.
Okay, and what happened there? Were you tired of politics? Like, I prefer politics as a hobby. Let's fix on HR first.
Yeah. No, the thing is, when I came from the university at that time, the market to get a job was not so easy.
Yeah.
So I was unemployed for a short while, and then I did some extra training and courses, and along with that came a traineeship at the technical wholesale company in the IT department, and there I developed from just an IT member to tester to kind of internal solution architect, project manager, or assistant project manager, internal consultant. So in my previous job, I started to learn Axapta. I started to learn testing, describing functionality, doing workshops, making training material, and everything.
Okay, all right, I see. So it kind of happened a bit by chance.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So first, let's still look back. What do you see? Like, what do you see since the beginning? Since you start working with HR technology, what are the main things that you see changing in the past? I don't know, 20-something years already.
Yeah. Well, if I may say so, for the thing I know most about, which is payroll.
Yes, please.
The trends that I see happening is it's more, of course, it's developing into the cloud. That's one.
Yeah.
Two, when it comes to payroll, it is tending towards more near real time or real time solutions like API connections, and not sending a file from an ERP system to a payroll system, but more like records on record level, sending individual records over near real time from one system to the other. So those are recent developments. Many payroll vendors have had systems that were quite old, often mainframe, and that's transforming into API and into other technology and more real time. That's basically what I see happening. Okay. And there are many payroll vendors in the world. There are many payroll systems in the world. We don't know all 200 countries in the world. We don't know all solutions in the world. But this is definitely a tendency towards cloud, API, other technology, not file driven, more real time.
More real time updates. Okay.
Yes.
All right, and. Of course, you work as well in customer support in HR technology. My question to you is what is it like? What do you think is the must-haves to be successful in within that area?
If a customer is live and he has an issue, and then the issue goes to customer support. The customer support has to analyze and solve the issue. It is challenging because it's different every time. Every customer is different. Every person you're talking to is different. The setup is different. We have different products, so you have to switch from product to product all the time. It starts with having a template or a procedure that you work with, and from there follow logical steps to analyze the issue, which usually starts with please, customer, tell me which product, tell me in which environment you had the problem, tell me what is the version, tell me what's the setup that you have, tell me exactly what steps we should do to reproduce what issue you have, and then follow those steps. And then you are gonna come to, okay, what's the problem? And is it set up, or is it code, or is it a procedure, or is it data, or is it something else? And from there you get to the point where you come to a solution. So it's very challenging because it's changing sort of your chair of your head all the time. But at the same time, if you think in logical steps, if you follow certain procedure, if you ask the right questions, especially if you ask a lot of why, then you come to the solution.
Okay. So it's from what I understand, it's very important, of course, the communication part, but also like the context, getting to know what is the setup, what's everything behind it before coming up with a solution, or even understanding the issue there, right?
Yes. If you have an issue, you always have to know the root cause, and if you don't know the root cause, you may come up with a solution that is a solution, but maybe not the right solution. So it's so the most important thing, you have to know the functionality. You have to have analytical skills, communication skills, and think in logical steps.
Yeah, I understand. And what gets you excited about it after all these years? Does it still get you excited on working with HR technology and supporting customers?
Yes, because what is so interesting about the job that it is so challenging. It is using your brain, using your skills that you have, using your analytical skills. And each issue and each customer, like I said, is different. Is different, and that's what it keeps what keeps it challenging. And I have to say, for me, it's also the fun part is also that sometimes I do even sales demos. I do product development. I solve solutions for customers. I do a lot of testing. So, and of course, those things are all connected, because in the end, if you solve a problem for a customer, that could also mean, we have new ideas for product development, etc. So selling a product, implementing it, going live, solving problems, new product development is all interconnected.
Yes, I understand. Good. And you just said it's very challenging a lot of times. So dealing with customers every day, that's my question. What are the most common challenges that you face with customers that at least you find like the most common ones?
Well, the most common ones is the communication and writing down so that you know and understand the problem is in all its detail. Like I said, by going to the logical steps, but making sure that you can reproduce the issue, and for reproducing the issue, you have to know which product, which version, which setup, which reproduction steps. So the logging in a ticket of all those details is very important, to not going the wrong way.
Yeah. So you need. Do you think customers sometimes face a challenge on their side as well to try to communicate what the issue is? Do you think that happens?
It happens on both sides. Sometimes the customer could be a little bit more clear and specific on what exactly the issue is, and sometimes it's also internally that we need some more information from colleagues, and that we need some more structured detail about what exactly are we talking about?
Yeah, and that poses sometimes the a time-consuming task if you don't really understand what the problem is, or if it's not communicated well.
Yeah. Then you have to go back to the colleague and to the customer, like, hey, there's a piece missing to understand, to really clearly understand what the problem is. It's all like you said, it's all in communication, and we are all humans, and that means that every time go to very little tiny steps by step, A1 and A2 and A3 and etc. That's sometimes difficult to do that constantly all the time. So it's human to sometimes miss pieces of information or missteps. But in the end, we have to make sure that the customer and we as FourVision understand each other, have all the information to dig into what's the problem and come with the right solution.
All right. That seems correct. Of course, you just said you get excited by doing many things, not only customer support, and so you wear many hats, if we can say that. One of it's actually being our Payroll Interface Product Specialist. My question to you, it's, let's say the listeners don't know the interface. My first question is, how does it work? What does it do?
What we currently have in finance and operations, as well as a separate payroll web app, is functionality to interface files. So at this moment, it's just file-based files from finance and operations to a payroll vendor. That means you do a setup. You make configuration sets of parameters, and in the configuration you have a set of fields that you can map. That's fully flexible.
Okay.
You define a certain file type. At this moment, we are supporting TXT and XML. So in the end, the process is you enter data in finance and operations. You do a setup in the payroll web app with configurations, with parameters and field mapping, with selection of a certain file type, and then based on the delta, so based on things that have changed, you send things over from finance and operations via this web app to a receiving payroll system. And why does it usually happen this way? Most ERP systems don't do payroll because the legislations is different in every country. Sometimes even in a branch in type of organizations. So usually the concept is you have to have something out of the human resources system / ERP system, and let somebody else who specialized in it do the calculation about how much money is this worker going to get, what are the taxes, etc. The key thing in our payroll solution is flexibility. Flexibility, and you can have many configurations. Flexibility into is it only changes or is it a full data dump? Flexibility in the file type. Flexibility in the fields that you select that you want to be sent from one system to the other. And that's basically it.
Okay, so you would say that the payroll interface web app that we have, of course, there's a payroll functionality, I guess, in the basic system of F&O, Finance and Operations, right, and Microsoft Dynamics. But our payroll interface, what it does is adding more flexibility for more and better integrations with payroll vendors everywhere, or with a lot of them, I guess. Is that a correct assessment?
Yes, because, like I said, what it basically does is the payroll web app is, so to speak, an interface app to make sure that you add flexibility to cope with many different payroll vendors and many different payroll systems. By the way, I should ask, I mentioned file-based, but file-based, of course, can also be that we connect to something that works based on APIs, application programming interfaces. So file-based doesn't mean that we cannot cope with modern technology. Only when it comes to are you working based on periods and making a payroll run versus near real time or real time, there's a difference.
Okay.
There are things that that still have to be developed.
Okay, I see. Why do you think it seems that payroll sometimes takes a lot of time to implement, because you spoke about that complexity, that that having different regulations even within the same country. Is that the only reason for it? It's also like a complex thing to explain to HR professionals sometimes, and they are the ones dealing with this. Do you think?
No. There's most of the complexity comes from something else, which is a little bit technical, namely data structure. Just imagine that you have a payroll system needing 100 different attributes from a worker in one single line in an Excel. So line 1 is employee 1, and line 2 is employee 2, 100 fields, 100 columns. And you have a certain data structure on the receiving side, so where the data goes to, but how the data structure looks in finance and operations, so in which table these fields reside, is different. So maybe these 100 fields come from 20 different tables. And maybe these 20 different tables, depending on data structure, have a different date effectiveness. So let's say out of these 20 tables, we have not 20 different tables, each having a date timestamp, so effective date and expiration date, but maybe we have 5 different date effectivenesses for those 20 tables. So the combination of what is the file structure? Okay, I need 100 fields and 100 columns, and two, how many tables to which tables does it go in the receiving system, and in which tables does it come from in the originator system? And how about date timestamps? That usually makes it very very complex.
Yes, I can understand that. It is also a problem of different vendors or different systems have a different language, and the complexity comes from aligning those languages.
In short, difference in data structure and difference in data effectiveness. That usually makes it very complex.
I get it. We call, of course, our web app payroll interface. My question to you is, what does that mean? The interface part, is it just a data integration, or is a user interface the web app?
The web app is also a user interface, because you have app with a GUI. So as a user, you have friendly screens where you can make the setup. So you can you can enter configurations, and the configuration is like an ID and a name, and then you can set up parameters. By click, you set parameters. In that GUI, you also set up your fields that you want to get across. So you do the field mapping.
Okay.
And you create your payroll runs. That means you have a certain open payroll period, and then you go to a screen and you say, "And I want to start a payroll run, or I want to schedule a payroll run to be executed later, or I want to set up a certain batch to that payroll runs are going to be created automatically with a certain interval." Those are things that you can do in the payroll web app. So it's not just under the hood technical that the user doesn't see. No, you have actually an app where you can go into as a system administrator to set up these configurations, as a payroll manager to conduct creating payroll runs and to view the results before you say, now it's good, and now I'm going to send it to the payroll vendor.
Okay, that's clear. Of course, this is a kind of for the listeners, is a kind of a biased kind of question on the payroll interface. But why do you think people should not only keep the payroll features that comes out of the box with Microsoft Dynamics, but add the payroll interface that FourVision has?
Well, basically because it's very flexible. And it can cope with many different payroll vendors. So it is an out of the box thing, which means not have or minimize customization. And by the way, if you look at the new development of Microsoft with Project Fusion, going back from Dynamics HR to integrate it back into finance and operations, means that I believe, for example, the Ceridian standard Microsoft interface is not going to be continued as far as I am informed, and that means that people need an alternative, and then you have something out in the box that connects to the new finance and operations, so Dynamics 365. After incorporating HR back into the ERP, and then you have an out of the box solution which is flexible, which can cope with, for example, Ceridian customers and many others. To minimize, to even get rid of customization or minimize customization, because I'm not saying that you always can guarantee 100% fit. Like I said, every payroll system is different.
Of course.
I've seen so many different varieties, but at least having a big chance of having no customization or minimum customization.
All right, that's. I think that's pretty clear. All right, one last question for you regarding the future. You already mentioned a bit of course the cloud and the API integrations and the market going more towards that. Is there any other interesting HR tech trends that you see coming?
No, from my side, not. There's so much going on that I may not know everything.
Of course.
Like I said, I'm very much specialized in payroll and also leave and sickness and time and attendance. So I'm not aware of all the trends that are going on. I focus mainly on payroll.
Yeah.
So no, at the moment, maybe after this call, I think, oh yes, I should have mentioned this or this. Then maybe something comes up. But the things that are already mentioned are the ones that are on the tip of my tongue.
Okay, let me ask you the question in a different way. For payroll, of course, you already talked. It's moving towards the real-time communication integration. Do you think, for payroll and payroll interface, do you think systems will be simplified? I mean, regulations for countries, or that will continue? And have you seen that? Have you seen that changing? Some countries simplifying it so payroll gets easier. Did you see that at all in your experience?
No, because the complexity lies in the difference between countries. Each country has its legislation. So maybe there are some countries that are changing some legislation. Yeah, that could happen. I don't know all the countries in the world and all the tax regulation. But for us as FourVision, and or maybe for our partners, if you do an implementation, often it is across borders of countries. So often the partner has a customer that does business in many countries, dealing with sometimes even different payroll vendors, or at least different regulations in different countries.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we have a prospect having a customer. That customer does business in South Africa and in the UK and in Ireland and in many other countries. And then you have different legislation. So even when in the country things, in the legislation of one country, things are changing, then you still have complexity because you're dealing with many countries.
Yeah.
Just one other thing that crosses my mind is that I think that HR technology became more important during or after. I could say during COVID.
Okay.
I really believe that that there is more need for HR automation after the phase we are in, or we just had.
Yes. Because people are far apart from each other. They were remotely, and suddenly you don't know which people are where and all that, right?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. Just one last thing. Still about change, leave and absence. I'm just curious because you also have experience with that. Did you see it change it a lot, or is just again APIs and those real-time connections? In terms of functionality, I mean.
Okay, but when we talk about leave, we're not talking about interfacing. We are talking about functionality for the end customer to administer and to register their leave and absence.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what I see there is that it differs very much from country to country, from branch to branch, even from organization to organization. You have countries and organizations where you get, for example, leave entitlement up front at the beginning of a period, and sometimes you get it at the end of the period. Sometimes you do carry over from month to month. So what you haven't used for this month goes to next month, and sometimes you do carry over from year to year, or sometimes you don't do carryover leave entitlement at all. So, and in leave and absence also, there's a big difference in how that's dealt with. It, for example, USA and Canada versus Europe. Or think about if you are sick, are you then still accruing? So building up leave entitlement or not? So it's not so much changes that you see. It's not about interfacing, but it's about difference in legislations, or about how to deal with entitlement, how to deal with what happens when you're sick with your leave entitlement, how do you accrue, when do you accrue, how much do you accrue. There, it's again a world of it's different everywhere.
Yeah, another thing that has a lot of complexity.
Yes.
And it might seem simple enough because it's one of the basic HR processes that you have, but it has a lot of complexity depending on country and region. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Maybe a conversation for another time. To leave an essence. Hans, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate the time. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, I did. And I hope it's useful for the listeners.
Yes.
And I guess if they have questions and want to reach out to FourVision, they will know how to find us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again, Hans. Thank you for taking the time. This was really insightful. I really enjoyed it. And for the listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed it too. And we'll see you next time.